Conquering difficult challenges is part of what makes video games fun. Facing overwhelming odds, overcoming fierce adversities, making it back to town after exploring a little of the nearby forest before another bug ravages your poor little anus. Yes, I really don't think I'll ever sit quite the same way after playing Corepunk. I'm a seasoned veteran gamer. Every day after school, I'd come home and spend hours working out by playing Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. The amount of muscle I built in one of my arms left many of my schoolmates quite jealous. I spent years perfecting jumps on the Sunflower and Conqueror's Bad Fur Day. I felt ready for anything Corepunk could have offered me. And quickly learned that I really shouldn't have overestimated this game. Oh god, oh mo, wow, oh there's a metal vein. No, his name is
His name is Hot?
Oh, he can still hit me from 20 feet away! Corepunk is a brand new top-down isometric MMORPG that I've been following and covering since December 2019. Imagine my surprise last week when I opened my email and saw the Corepunk team were reaching out to me to take a full sponsored deep dive into their most recent alpha test, the third thus far, and first fully public test not behind an NDA. I absolutely had to take them up on this opportunity. I would be completely out of my mind to turn this down. So I responded, attempting to mask my excitement and retain a semblance of professionalism. We hopped into a call together, discussed the game, their vision, whether I could stream footage and potentially distribute test keys to our viewers, and not only were they incredibly friendly, but also more than happy to oblige. There were no requirements, there were no instructions for this sponsorship. Rather, they simply stated they wanted me to give my complete, unbiased, brutal, honest thoughts, the good, the bad. They have faith in their game, and faith that I guess I won't trash the game without at least giving my reasoning for it. With this in mind, if you want to register for Corepunk, you can by visiting their website. You could try applying for future test phases or wait for early access. Before going any further, you probably saw the Corepunk box over in the corner here. This box was actually sent to me years ago when I first covered the game. And to this day, I still have the box on display, which should be a testament to how excited I am for this game and how excited I was to gain access to and play it. Since going live, I've spent dozens of hours playing this game both on and off stream. When starting a new MMO, I think there is one key aspect that is absolutely integral that you cannot overlook: the character creator. I love being able to customize my character, increase their eye size. Corepunk offers us numerous races and classes to choose between. As of this alpha test, there were 3 race and class combinations available, which also brings me to one of the first major points of interest: classes and their unique specializations. At present, there are 3 classes available out of a total of 6. The Champion with the Destroyer, Ranger, and Defender specializations, the Bomber with the Blast, Medic, Grenadier, and the Infiltrator specializations, and the Warmonger with Legionary, Commando, and Shaman specializations. When selecting your class, only a singular specialization is currently available per class, with each specialization occupying a completely different role, in contrast to what is available. As an example, Destroyers are melee classes that focus on dealing close-range damage via two-handed weapons. Rangers use a bow and arrow, engaging enemies from a distance. Both of these specializations are DPS, however the Defender is a tank. All 3 of these are available as part of the Champion specialization line. In the future, the Paladin, Pain Reaper, and Mercenary will be available, along with their unique specializations, providing over a dozen unique class combinations. After spending hours reading through class guides and figuring out whether you want to be a meta slave or not, you'll be presented with a character creator. You can customize your skin, hair, lip, and eye color. There are a few face options, hairstyles, and facial features. I'm honestly not sure how extensive the creator will ultimately end up being, but this feels fairly typical for an MMO. I opted for the Destroyer because I like to play as a tiny waifu with a giant weapon. And I know what you're thinking, hey Stix, when did you undergo an outfit change? And I mean, I kind of had to. Years ago when I got that box over there, I got given this cool swag and I was like, you know what, now is the perfect time to represent. So here we are. Although, admittedly, it is a little bit warm in here, so yeah, I might opt for something a little cooler. Once I'd successfully created absolute perfection, I was teleported in-game and greeted by a half-naked guy named Stix with 2 S's, and a goblin who wanted me to find his brothers scattered around the world. Before I had the opportunity to even talk to him, however, I heard Mrs. Stix screaming in the distance.
No, really,
Wait,
help.
How do I, what, is right click to
Right
attack?
click, right click. Oh, boy.
What, I'm stunned! What the fuck? I'm slow!
It's a very large aggro range. No, I don't want to die before we finish the tutorial. Why am I taking?
Oh, well, fuck.
I died. I died before we even made it.
Chat.
Very far.
Yes, within mere minutes of logging into the game, she had angered a level 8 leaf bug. An enemy that would continue to haunt us for the entirety of the test phase. This monster not only killed Mrs. Stix, but it had set its sights on me. I was its next meal. By utilizing my years of experience running away from things... Wait, no wait, not... Hold on. Strategically navigating around my enemies to survive. Yeah, that sounds better. I'd managed to outsmart and lose it. At this moment, I began to realize something. Corepunk might be a little more challenging than I had first thought. Corepunk is an MMO with a very large open world. When beginning the game, we're presented with a zone that we can freely navigate. The areas seem to be segregated by level but not gated, meaning I can run west if I want to and encounter level 12 monsters, north for level 8 monsters, or around the town for level 1 to 2 monsters. The world feels enormous. It's filled with varied environments and densely populated with not only enemies, but a variety of different points of interest. You'll be able to harvest resources like trees, ore, herbs. Resources, of course, have different tiers that allow for the harvesting of higher quality materials as your proficiency in that life skill increases. You'll find dead bodies lying on the floor, spread across a forest, barrels and crates you can destroy and loot, objects to interact with. All of this is magnified by the Fog of War feature present in-game, a feature that I never expected but have thoroughly enjoyed as it introduces an added layer of fear and reward to exploration. 10 feet in front of you might be a high-quality mineral vein, or a pack of imps waiting to blow you up, or a pig, or worse than all of the above, the dreaded leaf bug. Monsters were a major point of contention in this test phase. On the one hand, they were difficult. They were spread out as to not pollute the world needlessly with battles. They were diverse and had a number of abilities and attack styles that you had to be aware of. Engaging an enemy your level would often result in victory, but engaging two would often lead to a very swift demise. If you managed to survive an encounter with an enemy, you'd typically be half HP or less. At this point, you'd expect the game to begin auto-regenning your HP, but that never happened. At least in this test phase of Corepunk, there is no health or mana regen. This increased the difficulty exponentially along with artificially inflating the length of the game. This was a good thing. It meant that you needed to think before you acted. You couldn't just run into every group of monsters and kill them for XP. Every single engagement needed to be calculated. Do I have enough HP to successfully emerge the victor? What if there's an additional monster hiding out in the bushes over there, obscured by the Fog of War? If I lose half my HP now, will I have enough HP to continue on this quest? The only way to restore your HP and mana were by consuming food or items, by buffs you'd encounter in the world, or by resting by a campfire. The main campfire used by players resided within the central town. Every time I trekked back there, I'd see players gathered around healing. Despite how strategic engaging enemies felt, there were times where I wished I had a region active so I could continue exploring. Thankfully, you can purchase portable campfires that allow for you to set up and heal anywhere on the map. But I know that not everyone enjoyed this. The level of difficulty is not for everyone, and who knows, maybe HP and MP regen are a feature actively being worked on. Even though I personally think it makes it much more enjoyable with a threat of impending doom with every single step you take. While grinding monsters is an excellent method of advancement and is much easier done with an additional group member, or several. I know what you're thinking, ew, Stix, playing with other people in an MMO, what's wrong with you? I know I'm suggesting a cardinal sin here, but oftentimes, playing with other people is better than playing with yourself. Questing and resource harvesting are fantastic alternate ways of leveling and accumulating money. Resource harvesting allows for you to obtain numerous items that are important to the quest you accept for crafting or merely to earn a little extra coin on the side. And quests send you out exploring, helping out the NPCs, populating the world. Corepunk reminds me very strongly of old school MMOs when it comes to quests. This game doesn't hold your hand. Quests are purposefully vague to force players to use their brains. I'm aware this is something that many of us are not used to having to do, but it motivates players to explore, to engage with one another. If you're having issues with something, just ask in chat. We've been in several situations that were resolved merely by asking where an NPC was or if anyone had a spare item. Additionally, and this is something I'm a little embarrassed to mention, as I hadn't noticed it the entire first day of playing, but MRSSTIX did, and it took her an entire day to let me know this was even a thing. But you can obtain additional information for quests by clicking the little play button to the left of the track quests on the side of the screen. I cannot tell you how much easier this made questing. Fighting monsters, harvesting resources, and questing are the trifecta of progression. You spend a lot of time in combat. This is true for the vast majority of MMOs. Thankfully, the combat is slow and calculated. Your character auto melees the enemy that you can cycle between, and you select from a number of different abilities specific to your class. My class allowed for me to leap a large distance and cripple a single target with a powerful slash. I had a powerful AoE that made it easy for my wife and I to mow down several targets at a time, given that she opted to go the route of Blast Medic, the healer. I also had a buff that increased my damage and survivability via HP. Abilities weren't overly flashy, they didn't obscure a large portion of your screen. Sometimes I'd actually fling my character a little too far, completely past the enemy, which would result in the enemy hitting me and me wasting valuable MP. But I mean, that is more of a skill issue than anything. I've repeatedly stressed how dangerous entering combat can be, but have yet to divulge why specifically encounters are a potential threat. Sure, dying is never fun. You don't want to be forced to run back from the graveyard to continue where you left off. That's minutes of wasted time. But death in this game is ultimately much more damaging, as while the dirt gently caresses your face, an item is also slowly sliding out of your bag. You can make it back to your body and restore the lost item, but if you can't, then it's gone forever. Meaning weighing the pros and cons of every single encounter of combat in general is going to constantly be a thought on your mind. There is a functional gear system in game allowing you to equip various pieces of gear, chests, boots, gloves, etc. You can increase your power through obtaining new gear or by equipping artifacts, chips, and runes. These provide statistical benefits and improve your class and character in numerous ways. PvE has been very challenging and particularly rewarding, and while plenty dangerous on its own, the danger is magnified exponentially by the inclusion of PvP areas. Don't worry, only specific areas from what I have personally experienced have PvP enabled. This means while out in certain zones, not only will you be required to contend with enemies, but potentially other players. Neither MRSSTIX nor I ever encountered other players while within PvP zones, and thankfully, whenever we opted to explore them, we moved as a cohesive unit. This admittedly only helped some of the time, because we still died to monsters over and over and over again. There's a duel feature present if you're looking for a much more risk-free type of PvP. MRSSTIX and I decided to verse one another in a battle for supremacy, and I emerged the victor, which is rare, and why I'm actually showcasing it in this video for posterity, since most of the time she actually plays the healer class, which typically tends to out-heal the damage that I deal as a DPS, and she slowly whittles me down, and then she'll go and she'll post a screenshot of it on Twitter, her just hovering above my dead body, my face down in the dirt. Marriage, right? Marry a gamer, they said. It'll be great, they said, having someone to play with. For all the things that Corepunk does right, this game is not without its flaws. I've spoken about what I've enjoyed about the game thus far, but there are also a few things I didn't. First, the acquisition of materials and quest items. To complete quests, you typically need X number of items harvested from a node in the wilderness. Both MRSSTIX and I spent over an hour for quite a number of quests attempting to obtain the 3 or 4 items necessary for completion. I love how slow the game feels, how you need to plan out what you're going to do, but spending an hour searching out the same magic trees in the same area grew very tiresome very fast. This is an issue that they definitely need to work on, as many people I've spoken to found the item acquisition rate to be far too arduous of a grind. And finally, the tank class. Tanks possess the ability to pull you around the map, which is a great form of utility. DPS standing in a boss AoE grip them out. However, typically, abilities like that tend to be utilized on party members. Tanks in this game, the tank class specifically available during this test of Legionary, possess the ability to use that grip on other people not in their party. Meaning they can pull you outside of the town and grief you by pulling you into some monsters, killing you, resulting in lost items. They can also interrupt you while talking to NPCs. They can move you away from campfires, stopping you from recovering. They can immediately cancel your crafting. This was an absolute nightmare for some people, as trolls would create legionaries specifically to mess with other people during the test. I'd wager a guess that they're already working on remedying this for future test phases and finally, full release, because there's absolutely no way it can release in this form. Overall, my experience in the Corepunk alpha test was so much better than I had anticipated it being. And I will note, this was an alpha test. This was not a beta test. This was not a full release. There are going to be issues. There are going to be areas of the game that are incomplete that they're actively working on. You cannot judge the game based off of what you played during this test phase. This test phase was to showcase what they have done thus far, what they have achieved thus far. This game was difficult, it was challenging, it was rewarding. It emphasized exploration, it motivated you to play with other people and think before every action. Yes, I had a couple of very minor issues, but they were drowned out by how much fun I was having in game, and I cannot wait to see what they do between now, early access, and full release. Thanks again to the dev team for being so helpful, gifting us keys to give to our community, being open, allowing me to talk critically, positively, and negatively about everything I experienced. This type of transparency is so rare from studios these days.